you, too young, too inexperienced, but DS didn't have to elaborate. Gunnar had lived through years of hell and horror. It had changed him, made him less patient and less tolerant of politics, power plays, and polite niceties. Who had time for that shit when people all around you were dying? "How do you know this one is different?" Gunnar asked. The smile returned. "Her 8 years as an army nurse, for one thing, and if that doesn't convince you, she did a stint as a combat medic, too. She isn't going to be scared of a little bit of snark." His pulse picked up speed. There was only one person working for the CDC in Atlanta that fit those parameters. "And if we don't get along, I'd start looking for a new job." The older man walked away. Gunnar sat down behind his desk. Joy Oshiro. He'd stayed away from her for several very good reasons. Petite and curvy with dark hair and eyes, she added something energetic and fresh to a room when she walked in. But it was her smile and laugh that grabbed him by the balls. They did something to his insides, lessened the pain, the regrets, the wounds on his soul, made him feel human again. When she'd shown up on Thanksgiving with food or whoever was working, complete with pumpkin pie, he'd almost asked her to stay and eat with him. Keeping his mouth shut hadn't been easy, but his gut told him that if he spent time with her, his physical attraction to her would grow beyond his ability to control. If he allowed himself to feel anything, the dam inside his soul would burst, and the weight of his dead would suffocate him in sorrow. He wasn't ready for that burden. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Still, every time Joy glanced at him with all that passion in her gaze, he wanted to find out if maybe he could exist outside of the prison of his memories, outside of work without self-destructing. That scared the shit out of him. His cell phone dinged with a text. It was from Dr. Rodriguez. "My office, now." Great. She was going to read the riot act to him, including all the ways she was going to fire his ass if he couldn't get along with his new partner. Blah, blah, blah. He walked into her office, then had to wait while she ended a phone call. Carmen Rodriguez stared at him after she put her phone down, her gray hair cut in a feminine style that made her look younger than the color of her hair said she was. "Raymond is going to need therapy." "Raymond needs some field experience to toughen him up," Gunnar countered. "I don't have the time or inclination to handhold anyone." "I was hoping you'd act as his mentor." Gunnar shrugged. "Maybe in 5 years or so, when he isn't afraid to get his hands dirty and swear once in a while." Rodriguez shook her head. "This is the last time, Gunnar. If you can't work with Joy, I'll have to cut you loose." "Joy Oshiro?" "Say no. Please say no." "Yes." Rodriguez fixed him with a stern stare. "Figure out your shit, Gunnar. I don't want to lose you." Fuck. Gunnar managed to keep his mouth shut and just nodded. Did she think he wasn't trying to get his head on straight? He had done all the things you were supposed to do. Psychiatric assessment, regular counseling, and an alphabet of medications. He knew damn well he suffered from PTSD and depression, but the attitude of most of the mental health professionals he'd encountered had gone in one of two directions. Either they smiled, patted him on the head, and promised him that with enough time he'd be able to function normally in society again. Gee, thanks for making him feel like he was a charity case. Or they offered even more medications, enough to knock an elephant on its ass, without asking the right questions about what he'd experienced. They simply didn't have a frame of reference to understand what he'd been through. What he was still going through. He hadn't been able to control his environment even on the most basic level in Syria. Now a tightly organized apartment and office was a key coping strategy for him. Expecting his partner to keep their goddamn desk clean wasn't too much to ask for, was it? "I'm not chasing people off on purpose," he said. "It's like I've lost all my filters, and no matter how hard I look, I'm not finding them." Rodriguez considered him for a moment. "Maybe you'll get along then, because Joy doesn't have any filters either. Shoo." She turned her attention back to her computer screen, a not-so-subtle message for him to leave. Gunnar left her office and returned to his own as frustration built up against the internal fence he'd constructed to keep his emotions corralled. Now what the fuck was he going to do? Work. If he focused hard enough on work, it would keep him from acting like an even bigger jackass than he was afraid he could be. He sat down and began wading through the most recent lab reports from American hospitals and clinics of reportable diseases and infections. Everything from antibiotic-resistant bacterial infections to weird...